This is Future Fork, a show that explores the world of food and the decisions we can make today that will shape our future. On the show, you'll hear from innovators in the food space. We'll have disruptive conversations with people from around the globe who are taking the lead on topics like food sustainability, ending world hunger, food security, and so much more. I'm your host, Paul Newnham. Today on the show, I'm joined by the inspiring Pierre Thiam. Pierre is a Senegal-raised, California-based chef, author, restaurateur, social entrepreneur, and culinary ambassador. In today's episode, Pierre takes us through his journey. We discuss how his journey with food began. Pierre talks about his business Yolélé, and Pierre tells us all about Fonio, the ancient West African grain that he is so passionate about. Let's dive in. Pierre, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to be here with you. So tell us a bit about your story. I want you to go back. Where did it all begin?
Right here, Dakar, a few miles south, an area called Point E. I was born and raised here. Dakar is this place that I think was a perfect place to have a good food education. You know, it's a hub. You know, it's like coastal. It's always been a place where, melting pot. That was the entrance to Africa. When you look at Dakar positioning, it's like the most western coast of Africa. So since like early 1500, you already see like Portuguese arriving and Dutch and of course French. And that, every people comes with their food culture. And in addition to that, obviously you have the local, also the whole region. Since Dakar was that center, it's like it was the capital of the West African French colonial, as you can call it. But it was also a magnet for all those other cultures of the region. So when you go to street food at Dakar, that's what you'll see. You see Benin, black-eyed pea fritters, the akara that you call acarajé in Brazil now. You see food from Nigeria, you see food from Cameroon, you see food from, obviously, Senegal. At home, we always cook traditional food. My mom would have for lunch food inspired by Casamance, which is in the south of Senegal, because that's where she's from. But my neighbors who are from the Dakar region would have cebujan. Cebujan is this amazing jambalaya-like red rice with fish. The fish is like very abundant here because it's coastal. So, this fish stuffed with spice mixture called rough, and, lots of root vegetables because it's a plant-based food culture as well. So you have lots of root vegetables, lots of flavors, fermented, very interesting food culture. So this is where I'm from. That's my story. It began here. And then, I've been student here at Dakar University until like late 80s. I was a student in physics and chemistry, and late 80s, we were very, very much of rebel students. And we got into a student movement that got the government to shut the university down. And that's where it started for me, because I had to find a way to continue my studies, got a student visa to America. And I was going to a school in Ohio, out of all places.
And so how did that go into restaurants and cooking?
I was getting there on the way to Ohio. There's no direct flights. You stop by New York. And New York, 30 years ago, 1989, I land. 3 days after I arrive in New York, I get robbed. That's where it starts. It's like a movie, right?
It is a movie. There is a movie, I'm sure, that we can make here.
Maybe we should do a movie.
So you arrive in New York, you get robbed.
Yeah, I never made it to Ohio. I get robbed, and I'm like, I have my return ticket coming back to Senegal. I'm very tempted because New York was definitely not a place that you see Dakar is pleasant. And, New York was gray, getting cold. It was the fall time. And, New York in the late 80s, crack epidemic, AIDS. I mean, it was just like, and I was staying in Times Square area. Anyway, so to make a long story short, I needed a job, and there was this restaurant in the West Village that were hiring for busboy position, and I got the job.
What was the restaurant called?
It's called Garvin's. It was on Waverly Place, Garvin's. It's long closed now, but it was where it all began for me, because busboy, is the guy who just takes the empty plates into the kitchen, and you get to the kitchen and you see this other world, coming from Dakar. The kitchen is women only. And in Garvin's or anywhere else in New York at the time, there was only men in kitchen, and they're crazy guys, man. It's like they became this melting pot, people from all over the world, and fun people, and I just got taken by that world. The chef at Garvin's became a mentor to me. He was a guy who liked to practice his French with me. He had studied a bit in France, and whenever I was in the kitchen, he would like to have me taste a few things here and there. And he realized that I was fascinated by this. I really liked what was happening there. And he knew I wanted to get extra money. For me, it was just making extra money. So he offered a job. He's like, after busboy, come in the restaurant and be a dishwasher. And you know what? I will train you. This is how I started, because it's old school, old school, you start from the bottom. And, I hated it. I had no desire being a cook or anything, and definitely not a dishwasher. I thought, I was a physics and chemistry student. Eventually, I'd figure out a way to get back to the labs. And after some time in washing dishes, an opportunity came, as it always comes. A prep guy doesn't show up, and then the dishwasher comes, and they give you a knife, and you start learning knife skills, and you're eventually good at it, and then you're rising up. And then after the next step is garde-manger, and you go in the salad, and you start learning the dressings and the cold station. And now it's becoming interesting because you see the chemistry in cooking now, because it's like oil and acid, the lemon juice, the vinegar, the olive oil. That's an emulsion. Those things that you already know in the background, in theory, in chemistry. So now it's starting to be really, really interesting. And you see that there's a future here. And it's tasty, too. It's not like at the university kind of lab. It's really... And, and there's passion that I'm starting to get because, again, growing up in Dakar, you are already exposed to diversity of flavors and all these different cultures. And so, I'm now seeing this is something that I could get passionate about. And the chef was very patient and loving and guiding me. And I loved to read already before coming, so he's now guiding me into reading about cookbooks and stuff. And the rest is history, man. Eventually, I started to go from garde-manger to the grill, to the saucier, all those stations, and just could fly on my own now. I had a skill. So New York City was the food capital of the world. And, it's like I could go at any doors now. I had a skill, and I went there from Garvin's. I started working at an Italian restaurant, worked at the Italian skills in my pocket, went to a French bistro in Soho, Jean-Claude. I worked at Jean-Claude. We opened Jean-Claude, actually, and eventually stayed at Jean-Claude for a while until another place in Soho opened, and that's why it got interesting, because that's where I got promoted to chef de cuisine. I worked at that place, Boom, and Boom was the place, man. He was coming, the chef, great guy, man, was doing global ethnic vibes that was at the time really innovative. And I was like working hard. He was working hard, man, working long hours, man. And they, that pays off. Eventually, Boom was so successful. It was the place where, you had all those A-list celebrities coming. So we're doing so well that they opened a new restaurant. They opened one in the Hamptons. They opened one in Miami. And they needed to promote. And I got the one sent to Miami. And now, I'm like in charge of that kitchen. And now I'm getting even the blessings to start bringing my flavors as like specials, because I was offering it already in, for the family meals and stuff. Food from memory, food that my mom would do, like peanut sauce and stuff, but like with the twist of my now known experience in the kitchen.
And so you fast forward to now, you've got 2 restaurants and cookbooks. You've written
4 cookbooks, yeah.
4 cookbooks, amazing. So have you ever come across the person that robbed you?
No, but I suspect he was someone I knew, actually. I always thought he was that guy, and I'm sure it was. But no, I never came across in direct confrontational way. Didn't need to. I had other things to think about. But that's thanks to him that I'm here today.
So who would you say, you've gone on from starting doing dishes, who would you say is the most amazing person that you've cooked for?
Wow, there's so many, man. I mean, I've cooked for the King of Morocco. I cooked for French president. I'm not even proud of any of those. I'm just dropping those names because that's what people would recognize. Cooked for Ban Ki-moon at the United Nations. Again, names that people would... Rihanna, here in Dakar, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that journey was fantastic, man, Paul, fantastic. I mean, the people I met, at all levels, really people that you may not, you never have heard of. Also amazing. cooking for and cooking with too. Cooked with very interesting chefs that from Massimo Bottura, who actually even wrote the introduction to my Fonio cookbook. I can call Pierre Gagnère a friend, and they're so accessible, and they know about your work, and they give you even more blessings, and they say, hey man, keep going, this is where you're going, it's the right way, because they always knew that you're bringing your culture. The way I was thinking about it was a good contribution to the world's table. Africa was not being represented, and to me it was so important that as I grow in my career, that I find inspiration from where I'm from. I knew that this was a great food, and I knew that the world would benefit from it. So it was always like something I had no doubt about. And as I was exploring and learning more and traveling back to Africa and meeting those wonderful women who were just doing this food, in a very humble way, not even pretending to do anything, and me taking it to the international level, it was fantastic. And yeah, those chefs I've met, like I said, Pierre is one, Jacques Pepin, so many, yeah.
There's a line on your website that I really love, and I wanted to ask you what it means to you. So I'm paraphrasing, but it says, Pierre Thiam welcomes you to his table. What does it mean to welcome somebody to your table?
Okay, so my restaurant in New York is called Teranga. So it's to welcome someone to your table. In my culture, Teranga is a word that is translated as hospitality. And I think welcoming someone to your table is a better translation of it. Because when you come to Senegal and go out and happen to just be at someone's house at lunchtime or dinner time, even if you're not expected, people will insist that you come and be at their table. They will insist that you at least take a bite of, even if you're not hungry, you have to, the etiquette, you have to politely at least take a bite, because what you're doing is bringing blessings to them. In our culture, we think that unexpected guest in particular, that means especially the foreigner, someone who comes from another culture, is bringing a blessing to you when you share his food, your food with him or with them, right? And that's what I mean by welcoming them to my table. And to me, welcoming people to my table is the best way to share what you have, the most intimate of what you have, your culture. The best way to share your culture is through the food, really, because that's like the experience is multisensorial. I mean, it's like at all levels. It's the eyes, the flavor, the taste, the smell, everything is involved. And you taste even more than that when you think of it, because you're time traveling, you're tasting ingredients that have been domesticated by my ancestors thousands of years ago, and the way they processed it, and the way they kept those recipes, and the way they passed them on generation after generation from mother to daughter. So all of that is involved, not to mention, the farmers and the sun and the land and the soil. There's so much. I mean, we don't think about it, but when you look at the food, and this angle, you're like, wow, you're eating a culture. And that's why also, I'm very fascinated with ingredients, and I'm obsessed by them, because when ingredients disappear, especially underutilized ingredients that I'm obsessed with, when they disappear, that's a whole culture that's disappearing. Every single time a crop, an ingredient, a food plant disappears, and that's happening at a fast rate right now. It's a fast rate, a scary rate. I mean, you know about it. You talk about climate change, and we talk about, biodiversity that's just disappearing. So, yeah, it's all connected with culture, and food is culture, and agriculture is culture. We forget all of those things.
So talking about crops, one that you're passionate about is Fonio. So for people that don't know what that is, can you just tell us a little bit about, and why did you start focusing on it?
For different reasons. First, as a chef, Fonio is like such an amazing ingredient, right? It's a very versatile. You can use it in so many different types of cuisine because it has a neutral flavor. But in brief, Fonio is a grain, right? It's an ancient grain. It's believed to be the oldest cultivated grain in Africa. It's also a grain that's very resilient. It can grow in poor soil. It's drought resistant. But more than that, it even restores the soil. It has deep roots that add nutrients to the soil. So it's a grain that matters, right now. When we look at our food system, that's like most of it destroying the soil and contributing in the greenhouse gas emissions and all that. Crops like Fonio are the ones we're going to have to turn to if we want to have a future that will feed 10 billion people in a sustainable way. or else we're doomed. So I thought this was important, that the grain like this that grows here in this part of Africa, the Sahel region, which is south of the Sahara, dry and arid, but that can thrive here. I thought it was so important that this grain gets a chance to be known, to be like a world-class crop, because it's also very delicate. It's like in the people that grow it, they call it the most tasty of grains. It's very, very delicate. It's tiny like couscous. It cooks really fast. And I couldn't understand why, even growing up in Dakar, you couldn't see Fonio in the markets. You couldn't see products with Fonio. You would had to travel to the remote parts of Senegal or remote part of Mali, etc., to see Fonio that's grown by small farmers. These small farmers are the poorest one in the society. So to me, it was this challenge. If I could take this grain, that's like so nutritious. It's a nutrition powerhouse. It's gluten-free. If I could introduce it to my audience in the US, and from that moment, take it to a global market and do it in a way that supports the small farmers, that bring economic opportunity to small farmers. If you create a demand for Fonio so that this grain is like not only being exported, but Africa itself, this region of Africa, which is amazing, right? This is a continent that's a net food importer. It doesn't make sense that we have so many plant foods and we depend on the West. Food consumption is just amazing. We are in trouble. Whenever there's a crisis somewhere, we don't have wheat. There's a war in Ukraine, we don't have wheat. There's something happening in India, we don't have rice, because the system has been designed this way. And that's global. The food system is a time bomb. We're relying on three grains, rice, corn, and wheat. And yet we have like these amazing crops like Fonio that we've been ignoring. So I thought as a chef, we have a role to play. And we have to be intentional about it, because who understands food better than us, right? It's mind-boggling that we haven't been part of the conversation. This is the food system that's been hijacked by corporations, and they know nothing about food. They care about shareholders, and I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers and stuff, because we all need to be part of this, figuring out the solutions. One of the solutions for me was crops like Fonio. We need to figure out a way to integrate them. The solution is diversity. We need to diversify our diet. We need to stay away from monoculture. We need to come back to the way agriculture has been done here in Africa by small farmers, which is diversification, multi-cropping, rotational agriculture. That's how you take care of the soil, of the environment, and you have a diet that's also good for your health, because also, all the chronic diseases that we're facing are directly connected to this limited diet, all of it, So we need to be eating the way we've been eating here in Africa. We have very much of a plant food-based diet. At the base, you have the green leaf vegetable, you have the beans. So many different types of beans here. You have the grains, the millets, the fonio, different types of varieties of rices. And then you start to go to the fruits. And then the protein comes, the meat and stuff, and fish is like twice a week. It's not as often as you eat it as you would in the West. Then the dairies, at the top of the pyramid, you have the sweets, like very, very occasionally. So that's the type of diet that's balanced, and that's how we need to return to, for our health and the health of our planet. That's why I was obsessed with Fonio. It's like Fonio is one grain, though. We cannot just do one grain. We need to think have a holistic approach. If you do only Fonio, it becomes a cash crops, and farmers will grow only Fonio, and then it gets back to the same problem. So we need to bring up Fonio, but all those other plant food that are grown in the region need to find a market. So you need to figure out ways to add value to them in a way that's like the researchers have to be involved in that. Corporations have to be involved in that. They have to integrate them into their products, and everyone wins. That's one of the reasons why we're doing the festival. We want this to be a moment of celebration for those underutilized crops.
So this is the Lost Crops?
The Lost Crops Festival, yeah, the Lost Crops Festival. We call it the Lost Crops Festival for drama, really. Some people call it lost crops, some people call it underutilized crops, some people call it orphan crops, some people call it opportunity crops, and they're all of that. They're all of it. And they're miracle crops, because they also restore the soil. They can really bring solutions to these challenges that we are facing, which are existential. The climate change, because they happen to be climate friendly. Food security, because like I said, there's a crisis and then disruption, and then some food doesn't arrive. If we have a way to like increase the production of these crops and create markets for them, then we don't depend on we're not at the mercy of any crisis. So those are the reasons why we thought it was important to have a festival, not only that celebrates them, but to really keep the momentum going and get people to pay attention to these solutions and the community whole involved. A festival so that the artists are involved, the musicians, they can also just amplify the message, the chefs, but the researchers too, and the corporations and all those organizations and the policymakers, everyone has a role to play. It's about the community. And most importantly, the small farmers. We should not forget them. They should be part of the conversation. Then the community is the deliverable, and we figure it out.
What I love is that you've got a number of different approaches. So obviously as a chef, putting it into your menus, putting it as an activist, bringing together and convener, bringing together people around this into this broader ecosystem to look at diversity. You've also started a business, Yolélé Foods. Tell us a little bit about what does Yolélé mean and what does the company focus on? Because that's another approach that you've brought.
Yeah, there's so much work to be done, and I felt like I'm going with the flow. It's happening organically. So Yolélé is a Fulani word. Fulani is like an ethnic group, the largest nomadic group in the world, actually. The Fulani has been crisscrossing Africa for thousands of years. They herders, they crisscross Africa, and they are Fonio growers as well, because Fonio also matures in 2 months, so they can come, and it's easy. It's like the lazy farmer's crop, they call it. You just throw the seed, and the first rain comes, and Fonio is going to grow, regardless of how the rain is consistent or not. So that's perfect for a nomadic type of lifestyle. So that's why I call it Yolélé, because the Fulani, for them, Yolélé is a celebration. It's a song. It's let the good times roll. In a way, that's one way to translate it. So I think we should be having that approach to it. It should be a celebration. We should be joyful. This is our culture. We have how we approach it. And I called my company Yolélé because I'm part Fulani as well, so that helped. But the reason why this company came to be, again, it happened organically. I was writing my second cookbook, and as I'm writing the cookbook, I am thinking of substitutions for ingredients, because many of the ingredients that my readers in America have access to, the ones that makes our cuisine special here in Africa, they don't have access to them. So I'm like thinking, why should I always think of substitutions? How can I figure out a way to get the right ingredients to the market, to the American market? And as I'm thinking this, how can I also make sure the way that I bring those ingredients to the market also contributes in having a positive impact back home, contributes in having a positive impact not only on the farmers that grow them, on the environment. So that's how I was like thinking, no, it has to be ingredients that are sustainably grown, it has to be ingredients that are nutritious, ingredients that are good for the consumers, ingredients that bring economic opportunity. So Fonio was the first ingredients. Yolélé is an African food brand, right? This is what we wanted it to be. And Fonio was the first ingredient on our platform. We thought it was important to have a platform that goes beyond one ingredient, because it's important to think like I said earlier, in a way that's like the whole ecosystem is involved. And there are so many ingredients that are out there, that are disappearing, hundreds of them in Africa. So we wanted Yolélé to be that company. So we started Fonio, and we said, okay, Fonio, to have a chance to be a grain that people embrace, we have to brand it properly. And instead of that approach of like from farm to table, like we've been doing he thought, let's do it from table to farm. Yeah, I'm here, I'm in the US, and I'm at the table, I've set the table, I have my restaurants, I'm going to bring the grain to my consumers and, make sure they like it. I'm going to present it to them in a way they will like it. So I went to Pentagram, which is a boutique design company in New York. They have New York and London, and they happen to be the one that designed my first cookbook. And I say, hey, there's this product, it's amazing, it has a story. Can you design a packaging that tells a story so that it can compete with all the grains, at Whole Foods, in the best supermarkets in America, and be African too, because I want to also claim all of that. And they did that. And Whole Foods were opening next to my Harlem restaurant. And we knocked at their door. We say, hey, we have a product here. Would you give us a shelf? And they said, yeah, we could give you a shelf. If it sells, we stay. If it doesn't sell. And for me to make sure it sells, I had to go to Whole Foods. There was one Whole Foods. I had to go there, do cooking demo once in a while, do tasting so that people would come and eat it. And every time we would do it, it would fly off the shelves. Customers would love it. And Whole Foods, of course, notices it, and they want to support it, and they keep pushing it to enter more stores. And now it's like a couple New York stores and more New York stores, and now we're in the northeastern region. And soon enough, in a couple of years, we were in all the Whole Foods in America, and we started to add more products. And the products that we were adding, we would be making sure that it would integrate all the ingredients on the ecosystem. So we would bring moringa, we would bring baobab, and we would start to go beyond the pilafs, the Fonio pilafs, to making Fonio chips now. Now we're entering the snack category so that the people who don't cook or intimidated still by African ingredients, at least they know it's a healthy ingredient and it has an impact. And they buy the chips, it's Super Bowls, Fonio chips, Fonio chips nachos and stuff. So integrate the culture in a way that's less intimidating. And the Gen Zs and the millennials who are more conscious, because they know it's their planet. They know that they want to be a part. So they're the one who gets it and who started to support it. And today we got to the place where we said we'll have an even bigger impact if we integrate all the industries. So we talked to the brewery industry, because to make beer, you need grains. And we had this wonderful partnership with Brooklyn Brewery, thanks to Garrett Oliver, who's like a rock star on his own in the master brewer, and who just got it, And he tried to make the first Fonio beer, and it turned out to be an amazing drink, man. He was shocked by the way it turned out. And he became the evangelist of Fonio beer, the ambassador. And next thing you know, we would get people like Run the Jewels made a Fonio beer, and we get now Carlsberg is about to make a Fonio beer. Guinness just launched his Fonio beer. We have a Chinese brewery making a Fonio beer. We have a whole brewing for impact movement that's taking place now. And this, to me, is where we want to go. Because breweries like Carlsberg, Guinness, Carlsberg is the 5th largest brewery in the world, right? Even if they were making 1%, 5% of the Fonio in there. That's massive. That's when you really get the impact. Now imagine, and we talked about it before, other industries like Kellogg's, they use Fonio in their cereals. Nestle use Fonio in their crackers, whatever. And that's how those companies not only will have meet their sustainable development goals, because they're all trying to figure it out, and this is a clear path to it. And in addition to that, the impact they would have, and their consumers would be happy, because we have proven now that those Gen Zs and millennials, they like Fonio, and they are willing to pay a little extra to get these products. So these companies even have a path on prosperity in a way that it wasn't thought of. It's not charity, it's a win-win-win. And to me, this is a solution that's real, that we can consider. And one way to make sure it happens, though, is we want to make sure it doesn't take the path of quinoa. Fonio has a lot of similarities with quinoa, but the thing that happened to quinoa, this amazing grain from the Andes, got so popular that the demand became so high, and farmers in Chile and Peru couldn't follow up with the demand. And next thing you know, Texas, Ukraine, Montana started to grow quinoa in an intensive way, which is crazy, because not only the farmers in the Andes couldn't compete with them, but this is not the way you should grow these crops. We should really make sure it's not the crop that is following the type of monoculture that's been happening. We make sure there's no pesticides, no fertilizers, chemical ones. Make sure it's done in a multi-cropping approach. So this is what we're trying to do now. That's our challenge now. There's a demand now.
To scale and manage that, yeah.
Yeah, manage that. And the solution is in the innovation at the processing level. Because processing, that's the challenge with these crops, these small farmers in Africa. The post-harvest waste is high. The processing is inefficient. It's like close to 50%, sometimes more, of post-harvest waste. At that level, you cannot become a world-class crop. So we had to innovate. We had to figure out how to innovate in the processing. We knew that it was coming, and so we engaged milling equipment manufacturer to design that mill that would process Fonio, so that we're going from, today is like 1 ton per day of processing Fonio at the best. but we want to go from there to like 2-3 tons per hour. And we want to go from 50% and more of post-harvest waste to like single digits. That's how you scale.
Big innovation, though.
And we're there. We're getting there. We have figured out the equipment. Now we're working out the partnerships. We're working out the teams. We're working out we are fundraising. It's just exciting to see that. And that path is like something that all the crops should follow through to. It's like, we're talking about small farmers, all these other crops here and elsewhere in Asia, in India and stuff. But there's there's so many underutilized crops out there. And the solution is to start by, at the table, brand them, get the consumers to know them. But before that, you need to understand the product. You need the researchers to do some work on improving not only the productivity, but all that in a sustainable way. We need the chefs to create delicious things so that, the consumers likes it and understands it, and the storytelling too, so that the branding tells the story. And then you also need to support the small farmers so that they can be able to supply the market. And they grow, and the community grows, and so many problems are solved this way.
Well, to wrap things up, one thing that I always like to close with is something that you're eating right now that you're really enjoying. Is it Fonio or is it something else? Like what ingredient have you been playing with or discovered in your recent months that you're just loving to eat?
Well, I am in love with what some people call it dawa dawa, some call it Iru. In Nigeria, we call it netetu. It's a fermented bean. It's amazing because it has a way to transform your food as you use it as an ingredient. You put it in the stews, and it takes it to the next level. It adds that level of umami, but quite unique way. And some people, if I show you the ingredient, you'll be shocked. You'll be like, because it has an off-putting smell, when you look at it, it's so strong, it's fermented. It's a bean. The story about this bean, though, you do it with beans now. It started with the seed of a fruit. You eat the fruit, that seed that you would throw away in the West. Now here, no, we keep the seed and we ferment it, and it looks like a bean. It's like fermented locust. It's amazing. So I'm amazed with it, and we started using it in one of our Fonio products in the we call it the Afro Funk, and it's really great. And you can dehydrate it and have it too as we have
like a powder.
As a powder, exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, we started a line of spices actually, and this is one that's included in it.
With Yolélé?
Yolélé, yeah, you have Yolélé spices. Yeah, it's you look it up.
I'll have to have a look. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's delicious. It's beautiful to be. Just started a rebranding.
So it's Africa Funk.
Afro Funk. Afro Funk. Yeah. Afro beats,
Yeah.
It's like Afro Funk.
I like it.
And it's quite amazing, and I love it. And the funny thing is, Netetu, Afro Funk, whatever, that fermented bean, it has the same exact bacteria used for fermented as the Japanese one for natto. So when the Japanese use natto, you see the natto, see that bean, right? The fermented bean, the natto thing, that's also very off-putting. And I love natto, but we use it differently. Natto, you can use it raw like this. Ours, we cook with it. So when you cook it, the flavor is less potent and it's really even more delicious. So yes, that's one I'm in love with.
Well, thank you, Pierre, for joining us on the show. Thank you for all the work that you're doing and really driving forward this revolution around how to actually drive forward some of these lost or forgotten crops, but showing it. You're not only leading the movement, but you're also showing how to do it and showing people it can be done. And so I think this is a unique set of leadership skills. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and thank you for also having your voice and making sure these things is amplified. Really amazing the work you have been doing with the manifesto, and our group is needed, man. I think we have a thing to say, and we really should be taking the mic and talk more about it, because otherwise, if we let it happen the way it's been happening for too long, we don't have much time left, man. It's really, it's just unfortunate because the planet has been abundant and generous, and we cannot just ignore those amazing foods out there just because, the system decided to limit it to crops, to a few of them for shareholders.
No, well, thank you so much, and thanks for joining us. You've been listening to Future Fork, a show that explores the world of food and the decisions we can make today that will shape our future. Future Fork is produced by Disruptive Consulting Solutions and supports the SDG2 Advocacy Hub. For more info, head to the website futureforkpodcast.com. This show was produced with strategy and production support from Wavelength Creative. So you don't miss an episode of Future Fork, make sure to subscribe to or follow the show in your podcast app. And while you're there, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps others find the show. I'm Paul Newnham, and I'll see you in the next episode.